Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Seguda, and our community members. Tonight we are here to do a presentation for you on Constraint number 3, which focuses on ensuring equitable access for historically marginalized student groups. This presentation will focus on Constraint Progress Measure 3.1 and 3.3. Completing this recording for you is me, Dr. Susan Diaz, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Academics, along with Dr. Elizabeth Severance, Director of Advanced Academics. This presentation has been created in collaboration with Dr. Angel Wilson, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Leadership, Ashley Binnicker, Executive Director of Secondary Outcomes, and Tammy Caesar, Director of Career and Technical Education.
Before we get into the goal, we wanted to share an overview about advanced courses in Austin ISD. We believe that every student should be appropriately challenged to ensure and achieve academic growth. We believe all students' groups can benefit from participation and success in advanced courses. Our advanced courses in this goal or in this constraint are guided by local policy EIC and span content, interest, and subject areas, from advanced core classes like Advanced English 1 to AP Statistics to advanced fine art courses, upper level world languages, and or advanced career technical education courses. Additionally, these advanced level courses are connected to our gifted and talented population as our secondary district-wide services for students identified as GT is taking advanced courses in their area of identification.
In addition to goals, the board-adopted scorecard includes constraints, which are areas connected to our values that we cannot overlook while we work to improve student outcomes and meet our goals. Constraint 3 is focused on historically marginalized student populations, specifically African American students, emergent bilingual students, and students receiving special education services. While there are 3 constraint progress measures, we will only be discussing 2 of them today. 3.2 is based on a new dual language data tracking tool, which will be used to create baseline data during the 24-25 school year. Constraint 3.1 is focused on the percentage of 9th through 12th grade students, with the focus group being African American students, emergent bilingual students, and students receiving special education services who complete an advanced course at some point in their high school career. Constraint 3.3 is focused on increasing underrepresented students, with the focus group being African American students in our gifted and talented population. We are using the TEA guidance to track the representation index of our newly identified students, which is looking at the percentage of newly identified African American students in comparison to the district's population of African American students.
Before sharing the data, we want to clarify how we are measuring these new constraint 3.1 and 3.3. For Constraint Progress Measure 3.3, we are guided by local policy EIC that includes how courses receive weighted credit. All weighted courses are what is being tracked. This includes multiple program areas from advanced placement, AP, to advanced CTE courses that are part of articulated credit. In order for a student to be included as part of the numerator, the student must enroll, persist, and earn credit in the advanced course. The percentage is out of all 9th through 12th grade students who have ever earned 1 or more credit. Constraint 3.3 is newer to Austin ISD in measuring gifted and talented representation, but is directly in alignment with the TEA state plan for the education of gifted and talented students. This constraint will be measured annually according to the percentage of newly identified GT students in each school year. We have chosen to focus on annual identification as our first step in the work to improve our overall gifted and talented representation.
Our overarching objective with these constraint progress measures is to increase access to advanced courses and pathways for all students in order to provide more meaningful opportunities for students to graduate high school with college credit, an industry-based certification or an IBC, and a level 1 or 2 certificate. Additionally, we want to improve the representation of our gifted and talented students in order to close opportunity gaps across different student groups. These objectives are supported by research. Research from E3 Alliance shows that students who do not earn a post-secondary credential within 6 years of leaving high school have just a 12% chance of earning a living wage. Students need advanced courses and pathways. Beyond TEA requirements, the Equity Allowance or the Representation Index is grounded in Wright, Ford, and Young's research about how giftedness exists in every racial group. Opportunities to learn are not always equally and equitably distributed.
As shared in the November update from Dr. Brown in Research Analytics Insight Analytics Department, we have updated data and targets for this constraint. The previous data included an error that included all students in an advanced course, which is not what we are measuring. We are measuring completion in an advanced course by looking at earned credit in advanced courses. Because we do not have any new course completion data yet for 24-25, we are highlighting the historical data and outlining our target goal for 24-25. While we have a long-term goal of getting 88% of all students to take one or more advanced courses, we are not there with all students, and some groups are closer than others. The only group to currently meet that mark is our white student group in 23-24. In our targeted groups of African American, emergent bilingual, and students receiving special education services, the total was 10 percentage points below the overall student average. Breaking down, we see that 81% of emergent bilingual students and 78% of African American students successfully completed one or more advanced courses, while only 65% of students receiving special education did so. Our lowest group is currently our students receiving special education services. Targets for the next year and over the 5-year period are meant to help shrink gaps between groups and increase numbers overall to include more students in advanced work. We have identified additional data that will help in this task, including enrollment versus completion for these types of courses. For our groups with the widest gaps, we have found there are gaps between enrollment and completion. Similar to Constraint 3.1, we do not have any new data for Constraint 3.3, as we do not have any newly identified students for the 24-25 school year yet. Therefore, we are sharing the same table as was adopted when targets were set. Our focus group for this constraint is African American students. The representation index goal is to be as close to 0.8 as possible. That is what research considers well represented. You can see that we have a lot of work to do. The key takeaway is that among our racial groups, African American students are the most underrepresented student group within our district's gifted and talented population, which the board recognized in creating this constraint. I am appreciative for this constraint to keep us focused as we work to improve gifted and talented identifications and services.
We have started working with E3 Alliance for a more thorough, research-based root cause analysis. You will see here the beginning stages of what we have. You may see these change or modify as we gather more data in collaboration with E3 Alliance. Some of these are similar to previous root causes we have presented about for college and career goal progress measures. The first two are more related to Constraint 3.1. First is a standardized process for sharing options. There has not been a consistent or standard process for recruiting for advanced course options. This is similar to misalignment that was discussed last spring for GPMs 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4. Next is the capacity for individualized student support. There has been limited exposure to advanced pathways and academic support to persist in those advanced pathways. We want to be clear that this root cause is with the adults. Students need to know that they belong in advanced courses beyond just seeing them as course options on the universal choice sheet. Students are not exposed to all the options ahead of them. The third root cause is connected to Constraint 3.3. It is about the assessment and placement process for GT. The state plan requires qualitative and quantitative information. Current qualitative forms are subject to bias.
Tonight we will highlight key strategies we are currently implementing to improve this data before the next time we present. First, we have partnered across secondary outcomes and academics to host a virtual Advanced Opportunities Night to highlight the variety of options across the district. The goal of this event was to share information at a high level and then encourage families to connect directly with their campus or program of interest. This will hopefully allow for a more authentic engagement when the family gets to the campus level, having already received baseline information about the options. We continue to build partnerships across campus, district, and community stakeholders, all the trusted adults who are supporting our students and families. While the role of the counselor and academic advising is critical, we also know that there are other counselors, advisors in a student life. Teachers, for example, have a powerful impact when they encourage and or highlight their students' potential. A teacher's comment may be the encouragement a student needs to ask the counselor more questions about advanced course options. As we work to improve our gifted and talented representation, this year we have implemented in-person half-day GT advocate trainings, all possible because our federal Javits grant. Our third meeting of the fall focused on the GT Campus Committee and provided more training and insight on the process so that GT advocates can return to their campus ready to lead their GT campus committees. Here are a few highlights of our work this year. First, you will see a picture of our first in-person GT advocate training at METS, which trained over 100 GT advocates in one day. Then you will see a DCCE created advertisement about our virtual Advanced Opportunities Night that was shared across the district and campus levels. And then you will see at the bottom a photo of students in the advanced CTE pathway of robotics.
We represent our secondary office of teaching, learning, and leading, both academics and school leadership, as we work to intentionally design, refine, and monitor programs and processes to increase the number of students completing an advanced course as we improve the representation of historically underserved groups in our GT population. First, in the first column, we have the design stage. In the design stage, as a collaboration between school leadership and academics, we are designing pathways at all campuses across content and focus areas. Based on past experience and board feedback, we are working on more authentic engagement opportunities between the district and campus. We want opportunities for two-way engagement, which must be intentionally designed. As we look to improve the representation in our GT population, as well as solicit feedback from community members from other advisory councils, we are designing a gifted and talented advisory council utilizing the district standardized process to improve representation from all vertical teams and from different stakeholders. In the second column, you will see our refine stage. In the refine stage, we tweaked many of our processes this year to prioritize student and campus needs as a system of schools and also individually for deeper levels of coaching and support. For example, we modified our virtual Advanced Opportunities Night to happen earlier, in November instead of January, when we traditionally had poor attendance. This will also provide opportunities to connect families with the campuses to learn more about their interest areas. So we purposefully had this night ahead of the campus events, so that way it would be a preview for what the families will learn about the individual campuses in regards to counseling. We have begun our preliminary root cause analysis. We are partnering with E3 to go deeper into this work. Additionally, we have partnerships with E3 in multiple focus areas. For example, attendance, Emergent Bilingual Steering Committee, Math Peer Learning Network, and the CCMR Impact Network. We have modified our GT committee training for our GT advocates by moving to an in-person format. This allows for more time and a greater exploration of the resources and processes available. And in our last column, we have the monitor stage. We are committed to providing sustainable systems that lead to predictable outcomes. This happens in the monitoring stage. Progress monitoring is key as it signals to us when to make adjustments and when to maintain. As we begin to host community opportunities for engagement about advanced courses and pathways, we are monitoring who is participating. We are looking at the data about which campuses are and are not represented to help us focus on who we are missing. This is the third year of a form of universal choice sheets. We are working closely with our counseling team to ensure campuses have the support needed and that students are able to drive courses offered. Additionally, as we have implemented new GT committee training, we are monitoring the GT campus committees for more equitable identification. We triangulate several data points and we regularly solicit feedback from our school leaders and teams. Building strong school community partnerships is also critical in preparing our students for college, career, and beyond.
This concludes our presentation on Constraint Progress Measures 3.1, Successful Completion of Advanced Courses, and 3.3, Representation Index of our Gifted and Talented Population.
We look forward to answering any questions that you might have about our presentation. Thank you.